Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to my channel, Soul Journey. My name is Beck, the Expansion Doula, and today is June 8th, and I am doing an energy reading for the collective, my weekly reading. Usually I would put it up on Fridays. Today is Saturday, but some unexpected stuff came up with our apartment, and I'm actually going away for a couple days, so lots going on. So I wanted to do this really quick. That's why I'm doing it on my laptop today, so I can get this out. I also have to edit another video so that it'll go up on Monday because I won't be here. There's lots going on. I'm actually very excited about that video. I am doing my first plant unboxing, and I just did that today actually. The plants are over there. They're all secret. But that will be going up on Monday, so if you want to check that out, definitely subscribe. Very exciting. All kinds of cool things. On that note, I actually was talking to my partner, John Michael. For a while, we've talked about doing a separate channel. He's talked about doing a separate channel for himself. But for a while, I kind of put everything on this channel, and I'm trying to figure out if I should kind of divvy things up just so like each channel is a little more like personalized and themed, where Soul Journey is very much about soul progression, evolution, self-love, things like that. I also like exploring lifestyle stuff. I am vegan, very into sustainability, into my plants. We have lots of animals that we take care of, all of that stuff. And so we're trying to figure out like if we should start a more like lifestyle themed channel. So we were thinking about starting a channel on like veganism and plants, kind of like plant themed overall. So if you think we should start some sort of lifestyle channel separate from this one, let me know. Would that be something that interests you? I feel like sometimes, like if we put too many different types of videos on a channel, our audience will like only small parts of our audience will like each video because they'll probably be on the channel for different reasons. So I'm trying to figure out if it makes more sense to be more specific or if you guys like the variety. Because if that's the case, comment that down below too. So like, let me know what you think. Because we definitely want to be doing more lifestyle stuff. So let me know if you want that here or if you think we should start a second channel. I don't know where I was going with that. Never mind. All right, so today we are going to be working with the Vintage Wisdom Oracle, the Zillich Tarot. I love this tarot deck, by the way. If you're interested in looking at a full like look through of that, I have a video a few videos back, and then the Sacred Rebels Oracle. So what we like to do here on the channel, and by we I mean I, and it seems to be working for everyone, is I like to do theme cards with the Oracle decks and then have a message from Spirit as well, and then we kind of go deeper into the reading with the tarot. So I will just shuffle these up real quick. Sometimes I lay them out beforehand. Sometimes I like to do it while I'm on here. I hope you're all doing well. We are now into June. I can't believe it. So comment down below. How is your June going so far? What are the things that are coming up? I guess we're like full in Gemini right now, so that's exciting. I am on the cusp of Gemini. I definitely have it in there, so. All right, let's see. Let me scoot back so I have some room for my cards. All right, ooh, we have a few messages from Spirit. That is exciting. And now we're going to, whoa, hello. We're going to be pulling our theme cards. If you guys have any questions about the reading, please comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you'd like a personal reading, either for clarity on this or any other reading or just stuff in your life, let me know. You can go down in my description down below to my Etsy shop, and I have lots of spiritual tools on my shop and a couple different tarot reading options, so you can purchase a reading from me, and that will be really exciting. So definitely go check that out. Alrighty. I also realized that I wanted to start suggesting that if you want a fuller idea of like the message from this reading, go back and definitely check out whatever the previous reading was. Sometimes that can really help with clarity. Even more once we've come through a week and we like hear what the message was, what the lesson was. It's like, oh wow, yeah, that's what it is. Sometimes it's like you can really pick out the lesson a lot easier once you've done it, and then you can move forward with more clarity. So if you're wanting more clarity on this reading, check out last week's, because that might be really helpful. Where was that? Okay, here we go. Coming out. Okay, lots of messages from Spirit. This is awesome. All right, so let's get into it. Just take a couple deep breaths, center in, and just ask either out loud or in your mind to have Spirit guide you, that you can be open to Spirit's message for you. Everyone's a little different, so your message is going to be personal to you. And this is a reading for the collective, so if it doesn't resonate, that is okay as well. Just take a few deep breaths and center it. All right, let's get into it. All right, so our main energy for this week is shadow self. Ooh, that's exciting. So I'm really sensing this is going to be about making friends with the shadow self. So this isn't, there's a different card in this deck. There may be some nudity in these two, by the way, so I heads up. There's a shadow work card in this deck, and there's a shadow self card, and they are different. So shadow work is about getting into the, the healing and the cleansing and the, the integrating and all that like intense work. But shadow self is about accepting yourself, all pieces of you. Teal Swan just posted a video today that was about I love you even though. I would go check out that video in general. It'd be great for everyone. But this concept of like, I love you even though you do this. And it's not real love. It's not, true unconditional love, because you're basically saying this thing is unlovable, but I still love you. And it's not really an accepting energy. It's not a taking a self. It's not an integrative. It's singling out the problem area and then saying, but I still care for you. I still love you. And so shadow self is about those pieces, right? Because we do that to ourselves, and other people do it to us. So this week is going to be about not just self-love in the broad spec, like the Broadway, but getting to love the parts of yourself that you are not the biggest fan of. So this is about being a little playful, allowing yourself to relax a little bit, let yourself be in a less judgmental state. When something comes up for you, go like, okay, that's an aspect of me. That is okay. So we're working on the self-love around our shadow self, not just in general, but the shadow self. And let's be real, most self-love problems are around the shadow self. But this week, we're giving that side of us a little love. All right, so what's going to assist us? The light aspect of this is patience. Oh, perfect. So we have to be patient with ourselves. Most of our shadow aspects, or the fractures, were fractured when we were quite small. In fact, another thing Teal says is that all of our reflections now, all of our traumas and stuff are all reflections from when, like around the ages of like when we were born to around 6 to 8, and everything after that is actually mirrored reflections of those original wounds. So like it could be a very, very small belief system that we picked up when we were like 2 or 3 years old. And then those big traumas that actually happened down the road are actually from fractures that happened when we were way, way younger. So remember, when you're dealing with a fractured aspect, you're dealing with a piece of you that has not been able to come forward with you into the growing up phase, but is still that young age. So the patience card is really important, because as we work with our shadow self, these pieces may not be adult in the, how we would consider adult. They, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of wounding. And so in this healing process, you got to come up at it with patience and gentleness and love, and say, okay, that's an interesting piece. How can I nurture it as if it were a child? And it's so interesting because this patience card is a child. It's perfect. So, but see how it's got the wings, there's a purity, there's an innocence, and then there's sad. So be aware of the patience you need to bring to this process, because it can sound all fun and good. get notifications. It can sound all good and like, oh yeah, shadow self, and I'm just gonna accept myself. But let's be real, it's gonna take some patience. What's gonna hinder us, or the shadow aspect of this, is divine timing. So maybe trusting that the healing um, might take a little longer. I think we have this idea that we want to go in and be like, I love you, and then it'll be fine. But we're not really trusting the divine timing this week. We're gonna struggle with or like we're gonna struggle with this concept, but we can work through it. Is the idea that there is divine timing, and sometimes that does take patience. Um, the timing's gonna work out, and there's often layers. So that's good. Like our inability to trust that timing could be potentially a hinder to us. And then choice. So we're gonna feel a little out of control. We're gonna feel like we're putting in the time. We're gonna be trying to, work with ourselves. We're gonna really feel like we don't have a lot of control in the situation. But in reality, it's because we're denying the fact that we have a choice. We're gonna be feeling like, why is this coming up? Oh my gosh! But like, so our shadow is going to be in this concept of feeling like a victim, when ultimately these things are coming up to be healed so that we can make the choice to heal them. So that is the theme. Let's get into the cards. This is such a yummy reading. I'm excited. So our main energy is Knight of Discs. Okay, so this is a theme. So Knight of Discs is about taking your time. It's interesting because the knights are moving forward energy. The court cards have different kind of movement energies, and the knights are connected to air or swords or thought. And yes. And so they are always moving forward. They are always moving towards a direction, and they are applauding along energy. However, each knight has a different way of doing that. So the Knight of Fire is, fiery, kind of like, takes out everything in its path. The Knight of Water is very flowy, and it's like, like this. But the Knight of Discs is the slowest knight. It's kind of like that turtle energy where it's going to get where it needs to go, but it's going to take its time. But ultimately, it is a much more grounded energy. It is a more trusting in the journey type of energy. It doesn't need to just like fly through things. It's appreciating the plodding along, kind of like Taurus energy a little bit. So this week, that is going to be the main energy. So this patience concept and trusting the timing and not rushing things is really going to be crucial this week. So allow things to come up naturally. Take your time through them. Don't try to rush the healing. The experience of loving yourself through the healing is the most important part, because you can imagine if you're a small child and your mother's like, why aren't you feeling better? I'm here, and I'm here to love you, and like, why won't you stop crying? I'm here. What do you want? Like, that doesn't feel good. It's the mother that comes and goes, okay, I will spend time with you and take all the time you need. So that's what we really need from our healing. So this Knight of Discs energy, the patience is super important. So just take it as it comes. The next card, what's going to help us, is Temperance. God, Temperance is coming up constantly. So creating a balanced life, but also transforming energies. It is kind of an alchemist card a little bit. So this is about taking things and transmuting them with consciousness. So what I'm really seeing with this is about, even if a negative or a challenging situation comes up, I will be posting a video about this idea of challenging versus negative. I'm pretty excited, so stay tuned about that. If a challenging situation is coming up, you can take it and transform it into a lesson. You don't have to see it as being something that's going to victimize you. So this is going to be about transmuting the things that are coming up. What's going to go along with that is Ace of Swords. So the cutting the bullshit card, which is really good. This is really important because as we move through the shadow, as we move through these stories other people put on us, we need to start cutting through the bullshit. What stories are we taking on? What stories are coming up from the inside? What stories are we making up within ourselves? And cutting through that and transforming these stories into clear understanding and moving forward with much more clarity. All right, and what's going to hinder us is Nine of Swords. So really, and it says cruelty. So I'm really feeling this like keyword. So this idea of being too harsh on yourself. I think that's what's going to hinder us. We're going to be, again, with the divine timing, with the choice, we're feeling like, well, why won't it happen already? And that ultimately is rather cruel to yourself. You know, you wouldn't look at someone's broken leg and yell at and go, why aren't you healing faster? That makes no sense at all. So be aware of where you're being too harsh with yourself. And again, the light aspect needs you to transmute. It needs you to be patient. That's what we really need to do. All right. So the main energy for these is the Emperor. All right. And the Two of Discs, which is change. So what I'm really sensing here is having a little organized to the chaos. So a lot of us, especially as spiritual hippie type people, we tend to like to be all in flow and very in the feminine. But this week it's really important, and I think a lot of us have rejected the masculine aspect of ourselves, is to have a little organization, have a little bit of a plan and a goal for this week. Go into it with some awareness and maybe some structure as how you want to move through this. Maybe you want to be gentle on yourself by pulling cards or giving yourself a massage this week. Or maybe you want to journal. Whatever it is, this process this week might take a little more consciousness. It may take a little more order and a little more deciding to do something. Don't forget, our shadow aspect here is choice. So, and that's where we're going to struggle. So maybe preempting that and saying, no, I'm going to choose to go into this, it might kind of shift that energy. And then with Two of Discs is the change card or the balance card. But again, I kind of like this theming, the keyword, so the change. So organization to the change. It doesn't have to be chaos. Oftentimes when we think of shadow work, we think of like so much going on, so hectic. But this week it is about patience. It's about gentleness. It's about trusting the journey. So allow yourself to bring a little organization to the change. All right, now we're going to go into the direct messages from Spirit where they're going to pinpoint certain things we should look at. So the first card is the Devil card. So for me, I'm feeling like this is about attachment. Oftentimes we have an attachment to the identity we hold. And oftentimes that is because of the things we were shamed for versus the things that were nurtured with us. And of course, we know the shamed aspects of us are that shadow self, the parts of us that were perfectly okay and someone shamed them out of us. But we often have an attachment to being a good person or how we identify, and there is an attachment there. And so oftentimes as that shadow self comes up, we keep judging it because we're like, that's not me. That's not who I am. I don't want to accept this aspect of myself. And so Spirit is saying, be aware of where that attachment story is coming up, because ultimately those aspects are a part of you. And oftentimes the shadow self will express itself in unhealthy ways, but once you bring the light to it, all of those things have positive qualities that can be used for something that can be really beautiful. So for instance, someone who's really, loud and yells and very, controlling, that person in a healthy way, once they learn to accept that aspect of themselves in a healthy, loving way, could be a great leader. They could be someone who's good at making decisions, good at getting, the message out. All of these aspects of ourselves that have been shamed can ultimately be transformed. Again, the Temperance card, they can be transmuted into something that can be beautiful and actually very helpful for the collective. All right, so the next card is the Hierophant in reverse. Okay, that's cool. So what I'm feeling like is they're saying, don't go with tradition. Don't go with what society is telling you is okay. So we're going to be kind of like making our own path this week. We are going to be like, no, I don't care what they said about this aspect of me. I'm going to nurture it and love it and transform it into what it needs to be, because most of these things were because society has shamed us. So we're going off the beaten path. We're not listening to society this week, and we're really just nurturing ourselves and our real authentic selves. And what's going along with the Hierophant specifically is the Empress in reverse. So I'm noticing that this is really coming up with, Spirit is talking about there's a lack of love or nurturing that we're having towards ourselves. And actually, this is something we've taken on from the outer world, because this is coming in with that Hierophant of outside energies. So the outside world did not nurture us the way we needed. There was a lack of that. So we then took that on for ourselves, because what do we do when we're being shamed? We take that on so someone won't shame us. We shame ourselves before. So what this is really saying is be aware of the fact that our self-deprecating and our self like non-nurturing came from this outer source. So be aware of that. Those shame pieces aren't necessarily from you. We just learn them as a habit. So be aware of those pieces when that shame comes up or the self-hate. Take a step and go, okay, actually this is something that I was told, and not that this thing is not necessarily true in like universal truth. All right, and the last card in the tarot here is Three of Swords in reverse, which is sorrow. All right, so I'm really feeling like Spirit is talking about the aspect of sorrow, and that things could come up, and that is okay. The wounding in the heart, the wounding in the mental too, because Three of Swords is about wounding, but it can often mean the mental wounding. The Five of Cups is more about the heart being sad and sorrowful, but the Three of Cups is almost like the story of the wound, the thing that really like gets our mind going, the thing that makes us like really like depressed, the thing that like the story around the wound itself, so to speak. So Spirit's acknowledging the fact that those stories are going to come up, and that's going to be something we're going to really have to work and to wrap our head around and not get too caught up in the story, but just letting it process and come through. All right, and so the last cards here are from the Sacred Rebels, and these are a little abstract, so I'm excited to see what they are, and these are just the final messages from Spirit. So this first one is Collaborative Dreaming. I love this card. So Spirit is saying that through collaborative dreaming, and I'm really sensing this has to do with the fact that as a collective, this is what we're working on. This is the collective dream, and we're all collectively dreaming it. So we're all working on it this week. So not only be gentle with yourself, because you're not being singled out. This is not like you being punished. This is what we're working on as a collective. That's important. But remember that because this is a collective healing right now, be gentle of others. Be gentle if someone's having a hard time, be like, you know what? This is what's coming up this week. I can be gentle towards you. So remember, that person in front of you is the universe perceiving itself. It is, namaste is like you are another me. So remember, as you work with other people who might be challenging, remember, they are going through the same energy as you are. So even if it's looking different from your journey, be gentle, be patient, and trust in the divine timing. So the next card here is What You Want Wants You. So I'm really feeling like that is really about if you want to have integration, if you want to heal these wounds that you've put on yourself or others have put on you, and you're healing through that, your essence, your essence doesn't really get hurt, but like the wounded aspects of yourself, rather, if you want to be healed, they do too. Your body and your emotions and your emotional body and your mental, they're not fighting you. Even if it feels like that, ultimately everything wants integration, everything wants to feel better. Oftentimes those wounds are defense mechanisms because for so long they felt unsafe, but that's because they ultimately want to be loved. They want to feel safe, and they're that animal backed into the corner. So just because it feels like your body and your mind and your emotions are fighting you, ultimately what you want wants you too. So remember that if you can come into a space of accepting and saying, I'm just here for you, I'm here to hear what's going on for you, and allow them to feel safe, they will meet you in that healing, because that's ultimately what they want to. And by they, I mean the aspects of you that are wounded. And the last card is Bring It Into Form. Magic, pure magic. So this is really about a wake-up call, I think, a little bit. A lot of us think about these things, but we don't engage in them in a practical way consistently. Just because we know something doesn't mean we have engaged it in our lives. It doesn't mean that we have mastered actually creating it. And I'm coming back to this Emperor card. Remember this idea of organization, bringing it into form. The Emperor is about bringing it into form. And so the Spirit is saying, okay, like you're learning a lot about this. You're this is a lot going on for you in your mind, but are you bringing it into form? And so this week it is about consciously choosing to take the steps to actually create the healing, now that we've thought about it for however long, right? So really making the effort to put in that organization and being more conscious about it. And we have some discs here in this, so I'm really feeling like that earth energy of bringing it into the 3D is really important. So maybe it is bringing out that journal, maybe it is pulling those cards, maybe it is about going to that yoga class, maybe it's about eating healthier. Whatever it is, it's time to bring what you've learned into form. And this shadow self-loving is a part of that. So that is today's reading. I actually really enjoyed this one. This was kind of a bigger spread. This was a lot of fun. So if you have any questions or this resonated or if it didn't resonate, comment down below. I love to get your feedback, of course, always with love. We love having communication here. And, you know, constructive criticism is always beautiful. So as long as it's messaged with the intent to lovingly educate, go for it. Again, if you would like a personal reading, you can head down to my description to my Etsy shop, and you can purchase a personal reading there as well, along with other magical tools. And my other social media links are in the description as well. So again, this was June 8th, and this was an energy reading for the collective conscious. So take what resonated and leave the rest. Many blessings, you guys. Namaste, and don't forget, it is all about the soul journey.